question that hard too. They like to see the projections. So, if you're used to using Excel, that's not that hard, just to plug the numbers in and let it calculate them for you. At a minimum, you want to have 2 years projection. I don't recommend that you teach yourself Excel in this next week, though, if you're not good with Excel. Get an appointment with Tom or Sue Wagner.
Gary McGow, too, is another one that's
Oh,
on
yeah.
your list. Gary McGow is on your list of mentors that you got the first night that's in your notebook. He's another person that can help you with your business plan.
But don't wait till the last minute, because if you guys are all trying to get in with them, it's good, especially with the way the weather's working out. You don't want to be on your own and it be time to turn in that business plan. So I would definitely, now's the time to get real serious on, especially on the financial aspect of it, because it's the more difficult. Yes, sir.
Just one more question.
You're fine.
Kathy, I thought had a real good suggestion. I'm not complaining, but we've got about a dozen documents that has a different twist to business plans. Okay? And not that there's a problem with that, because there's a lot of ways you can write those. But Kathy came up with, I thought it was a good statement, which is back in from how we're going to judge it. In other words, there's an evaluation that the judges are going to be using to evaluate the business plan. So if you look at that, okay, it kind of gives you a guideline to me of what they want in the business plan.
True statement. And the template I gave you Monday, or not say Monday, the first night, and then I've also given you another one that you can, and this one's a little more user-friendly, I think, that says, this is what they want in this section. It has an arrow drawn to it. So look this over and see if this helps you as well. But you're right. If you look at your scoring sheet, you know what they're looking for. Same with presentation. So Sandy, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, Cindy asked, is everyone ready with their business plans? That's next week. The 3rd is when they're due at Miss Nita and Suzanne at the Chambers, where you're going to submit those to. So don't forget.
I thought it was the 10th. I thought it was the 5th.
5th. Sorry, I got the 3rd on my night. You are correct. You are the 5th, but that'll make you go faster for that. That's one of the most important parts of our grading, and then of course the pitch night is the second part. So use those mentors too. You've got that list. Call these folks up. If you can't get up with one, you've got alternates. Don't wait until the last minute. I can't stress that enough. Well, tonight's topic is my favorite topic when it's regard to business. It's marketing. And I am tickled death that we have a successful entrepreneur right here in Washington County, Casey St. Louis from Abingdon Olive Oil, is going to share her experience in marketing and give you lots of tips. So you better get those pens and paper out and make lots of notes. And I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to turn it over to Casey.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, well, I've done this a couple times for different marketing classes, and so I'm working with a PowerPoint that I put together. I wouldn't call me a master, but I've had a good amount of experience in marketing in my lifetime. I started out with my mom, who was a portrait painter, and it came the time where she had done about 3,000 portraits, and we were trying to figure out how to take her to that next level. And so I started to do some research and stuff. And at the time, she was making about 500 to probably 2,500, 5,000 for a portrait. When I got done with her, we were making between 10,000 and 50,000 a painting. So that was the beginning of my really jumping out into the world with marketing. She now has macular degeneration and is pretty much blind, and so that career eventually filtered out. I started working with a bronze sculptor, and I married a golf pro, lived in Florida, raised our kids there, and so I was pretty much a stay-at-home mom and the mother to everybody else in the neighborhood, because so many parents are working now, so not every parent can be at home. I started the first day of school, we put our daughter on the school bus, and so she was 5, and the bus stopped right in front of our house. And then at the end of the day, I was doing that last little section of vacuuming, heard the bus come around the corner, knew she'd be coming running in because it was the first day of school. and she didn't come in. I finished my vacuuming, went out, there was nobody around. So it was about a year after Adam Walsh had been abducted in Florida, and there was still a lot of conversation about what was going on there. So my first thought was, uh-oh, what's happened? I called the school. We didn't have cell phones back then, so the lady on the other end said, let me talk to the teacher. The teacher said, yeah, she remembered putting Margot on the school bus, remembered what she was wearing, and that's when she said to me, I think you probably should come to school and bring a picture with you. So I brought a picture, and we did a search of the whole neighborhood. Within a couple hours, about 7:30, home came Margot, and a police stopped her. I stayed at home manning the phone. My husband was running around looking for her in all the neighborhoods. And so she just came skipping home. She didn't realize. Nobody did back in those days. She just went with a little friend to their house and had cookies and milk and played on the back porch, and then home she came. Well, needless to say, I had a big enough scare that the next day I called Adam Walsh Children's Fund and said, what can I do to help? And that started a whole career for me in marketing with them. It was all volunteer charity work. It was 20 years. I do remember the time that somebody came to the board meeting and said, wouldn't it be cool if we could put things all across the country, some kind of a billboard system? So when a kid was abducted, because the first 20 minutes we now know are the most important. And when Adam was abducted, John and Reve, his parents, sat in the police station waiting 72 hours in order to be able to file that missing report, person's report. And meanwhile, they were tracking a horse trailer that had been stolen. So we know those first 20 minutes are the most important. Wouldn't it be cool if we could somehow get the word out very quickly, if there was a way to put billboards all around the country? What a huge task that was going to be. How was it going to be possible? And now most of you now know the rest of the story. The Amber Alerts are just posted right there. We eventually hooked up with the Department of Transportation, the National Department, and little by little grew that dream. And now you can even get an alert on your cell phone, which is mind-boggling to us that started that 20 years ago. But my journey really developed with them in marketing. And raised my family. Somebody was asking me, how did I get started in the olive oil business? I went to visit a friend. I lived in West Palm, went to visit a friend in Naples, Florida. She had some homemade hummus that she had made with the garlic oil and a can of chickpeas, and put it in the food processor, whirled it up, had some rice chips. I had the bottle of wine. We were going to meet friends for dinner. She put some of the 18-year aged balsamic on that. We ate away. Ooh, that was good. Poured some more of that 18-year on and just kept eating it. Pretty soon everything was gone. Called our friends. We weren't coming to dinner. We were full. The wine was gone. And I went into the store the next day. I was fascinated with the product. Came home with 6 bottles, 3 sets of oils and vinegars. Said to my family, wait till you guys try this. They knew I'd been with my health nut freak friend and rolled their eyes at me. Within about a month, they were pointing at empty bottles. Time, Mom, to go back and get more. So I went back to get more, just to replace those 6, came home with 12. Pretty soon had a collection of 24, and started to notice a lot of things. A major light bulb moment was when I mentioned at the dinner table one night I'd lost 8 pounds. And I wasn't trying, so it must have been something to do with the olive oil. We were consuming healthier stuff. And my daughter had said she'd lost 12 pounds. And I noticed that her clothes were fitting differently, so that was kind of a light bulb moment for me. I wonder if it had something to do with that. Then her friends were invited to dinner, and they said, your dad's grilling, your mom's putting all her stuff out, right? And that was another light bulb moment. We realized you could do grilled chicken. I don't know how many people have been in my shop, but I have 53 varieties of oils and vinegars, all kinds of flavors that you can mix and match. And so just by putting different bottles on the table, you can have grilled chicken, and somebody can have Polynesian, and somebody else can have Tex-Mex, and you can pretty much have whatever you want just based on what you put out on that table. Consequently, I call the product recipes in a bottle. You don't have to get out measuring spoons or cups. The whole recipe is in the bottle, and that's what's before you, our little flip book that markets the recipes. There's a card for everything that we offer, and different ways to use it, fun different ways to use it. That's actually the second version of it. The first version looked like this. I'm going back to this version, and I can explain that to you on down in the presentation. But it looked like this. It was a flip book that we hand punched. I had the cards made at the office place. As you know, it's now closed. And I had them made 50 books at a time. And then somebody on my staff would hand punch those, and we'd put these together. In the first year, I sold 700 of these. So that's really what got started with me and my journey. And I tell people a lot. Somebody else was saying, do you have cooking classes? A lot of other stores. I was the 203rd Veronica store to open up. That's my Supplier. There's now over 500 stores. They open, they close. Not everybody knows how to do it. We just are really good at it, and we're really good at marketing the product from the minute you walk in the door. Usually there's a high school kid sitting behind a counter looking at their phone saying, if I can help you with anything, you just let me know. And they expect the product and the different cards on the foosties, the containers that hold the product, to do all the work for you. And so a lot of stores will close because of that. They just really don't know how to do it. For me, it's hard for me to get all my work done. I'm usually up till midnight or 2 o'clock just trying to get stuff done because people keep coming in and bugging me to buy stuff during the day. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I'll just pretty much start with this. Let me know if I'm blocking anybody. Most of you probably already know what marketing is all about, the selling of products and the services and how to make them intriguing to people. This is the reason I came here. I was in West Palm Beach. I have 4 grandchildren. There were 3 when I got started. And there they are on the front porch. And there I am with them. So that brought me to Abingdon. First thing you have to do is find a store, and the location is pretty important. My first Main Street merchant meeting I went to, they all said, why'd you pick a place so far out of town? Why aren't you downtown? And I'm about, if you know where I am, I'm halfway up Courthouse Hill. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, so that was pretty interesting to me. I thought I was downtown. I told God I wanted a place on Main Street, wanted to live upstairs, be close to the Creeper Trail. So I look at the Creeper Trail right out my back window, and I live on the top floor. So I must have been doing something right. You might hear me talk about it during the course of today as she talks about business plans and stuff. I don't want to emphasize it too much, but I don't think I can. I do spend a lot of time talking to God and my angels. There's a lot of times that people won't believe in you. You have to believe in yourself and what you're doing. Is this really going to work? This last week, we've been closed all week because of the weather. I have a main angel, Gabriella, and I say, okay, Gabs, I need people to come in. And the people just show up. And so I think it's very important to believe in yourself and to have a connection with a source that will help you through any of your traumas that you go through in life. This has been just a super pleasant journey. I really haven't had very many struggles at all. And you are going to make mistakes. I can guarantee that. They're going to cost you money. Just accept it. You can't kick yourself too hard and don't knock yourself down. Just believe in yourself and know, okay, that was a mistake. That's my one I get this year. And so know that you won't be making any more the rest of the year. Whoops, wrong way. So this was the inside as I first walked into this beautiful building. We are located in an old historic town, so that did lend itself to me wanting to bring my customers in and be intrigued with the area and the building. Those windows are all original windows. That's going into the middle room. Can I make this space work? I wasn't really sure. That's my landlord. But I felt like I could, and that's little Annie, and she just was peeking through everything. The back room, Carolina blue. That's what he told me. You can paint it if you want. I chose not to. So these are just pictures as I got started. So the next thing that I needed to do was design my logo. I went back to Florida, because that's where I was from, and started working on the logo. I put this up because I think it's really important to, when you're considering your logo and how you're going to market. Say what? Oh, look at you. Do you know what I'm about to say?
I'll listen to you.
Okay. Yeah, so FedEx, one of my favorite stories about subliminal marketing. Do you guys see the arrow? Because they're on the go. So that's what you want to do, is try to incorporate in your logo what you're all about. For me, it was olive oil, the olive branch. A lot of people don't even see that. It's on my bottle, but they don't make the connection between the olive branch and the dove. I always find that interesting. This was my first drawing. when I first started, I couldn't find anything that I liked online, so I started to draw my own. And this was the first one. I'm surprised this is up here because I thought I removed this from my PowerPoint, but here it is. So my husband and daughter came home and I had all these different drawings that looked very similar on the cabinet. Do you like this one better or do you like this one better? This one or this one? I don't know if you guys can see what's going on here. I ended up with this one. And the difference is I just added a few lines, the tip of the tail. I wanted it to feel like it was flying. This was the first one. And it just didn't quite feel right, so I added a little flip to get it to go. Eventually I added the feet that were tucked up under. And people oftentimes will say it feels very light and very free. And when they come in, there's something about that logo that they like. And I'll discuss later my closing spiel to them. I want them to like that bottle. I want them to keep coming back to me. As I said, there's over 500 Veronica stores in the country now. What's going to make my product more unique than any of the other stores? And part of it is that bottle that they're going to want to see sitting on their shelf. There's one store that is called Olive and Kickin'. It's an olive kicking a pepper. It's a blob and a blob. And so when you look at it from a distance, you really don't see anything. There's nothing there that would make you want to leave that on your kitchen counter. So that was pretty important to me. Okay, so there we go. And there is what it turned out on the bottle. I moved up here, found a web designer, and he's the guy who put that beautiful lettering with it all. And it just made for an absolutely beautiful, elegant presentation that really fit the town. It's a very cultural town, and I wanted the artsiness to go with it. He wanted to straighten up some of those lines you might see over the eye of the dove. There's a little bobble there. There's bobbles all over. That was important to me. I didn't want it to look very exacting. I wanted it to look like art because we're in an art town. So you gotta love your logo. I don't know why this one's here either because I changed this. I changed this font. Yeah. It's almost like I'm running the other PowerPoint, but you know what? I might be running the other PowerPoint. Hey, Sandy, come help me a second. I think I am in the other PowerPoint. Except for what FedEx have been in there. Huh?
Who's your web designer?
I work with Jeffrey Johnson. He's right here in town. Susan, you know him, right? He did a lot of work with the Chamber of Commerce when he first came. Yeah, the Incubator. Okay.
It's fine.
All right. I thought I removed those guys. Okay. So there's my bottles again. Anyway, Jeffrey Johnson, he worked a lot in his plan when he came here. He wanted to grow his business, so he went around to different businesses in town and said, I'll do videos for you to try and get his business going. And so he hooked up, I know, with the Chamber of Commerce and some other businesses as well and put together Abingdon 360, which is a website that you can go to that tells you what's going on in town. If you're a doctor or a business owner, you can put your own stuff in there. He's very open and giving and willing to help you. And that particular website is a free website. So that's who he is. So like I said, you want to like what you're going to look at because you want to put it everywhere, not just in a couple places. If you're opening a retail store, you want to plaster that everywhere. And if you're opening another business with your logo on your business cards or whatever, you still want to make sure that your logo is everywhere when a customer comes to your house or your office or wherever your business is. If you're building a website, you want it all over your website. So make sure you like it and make sure that it tells the customer something about what you're all about. There it is there. It's on my product shelves. Another view of my product shelves. Everywhere. My staff is really aware of Simple Marketing 101 when you go into a gas station or anywhere where they have products displayed. They always like that logo face out. They don't want it with this part facing this way. Coca-Cola is always showing, or whatever the product name is. It's always going to be showing, and they're very specific about that, and the people who put it on their counters and displays. So I'm very specific with mine. I don't like it turned ever so slightly. I like all those doves facing out the same way. Anyway. So I don't know, can you guys see that? It looks a little pale to me. Is it a good clear picture where you see the doves facing out? These are my different display racks, and those are the foosties that hold information on those cards. Pretty much as you walk through the store, you want to create the look of an ad. I have a lot of people that come in and say, do you mind if I take a picture? And then I see it in a magazine the next month or something. And so you want to always make sure that your place of business is clean and tidy and picture perfect, because you never know when somebody's going to want to come in and take a picture. And I'll go over that a little bit later too. Step back, look. Oftentimes I'll just sit in the front room at night when things are quiet and look around and see if I want to move something from here to here and from here to here, because I care about what the newcomer or the audience is going to see as they come in. Okay, creating a good slogan. One of my favorite stories was from a marketing class that I took, 101, and it was about Smirnoff. And Smirnoff came to this country, Smirnoff vodka, came to this country in the mid-50s. We were still in the Cold War. Nobody liked the thought of Russia or anything to do with Russia, and Russian products we really didn't want to have in this country. So they went to a marketing advertising firm in New York City, Mad Men, it was that same era, on Madison Avenue, and the head of the company put the new kid on the block on that project, didn't expect him to do very much. He spent a lot of time, had a couple weeks to do it, to come up with a slogan, really was struggling. And the last day, the last night, he still didn't have anything that he liked. And so, want me to stand up, is it better? He didn't have anything that he liked. So he sat with that bottle of vodka in front of him, started to drink it, and thought, let me just see what I can come up with this way. He was all night working on that, drinking that bottle of vodka. Didn't get anywhere, but finally went home about 4:35 in the morning. His wife said, where have you been? He was all disheveled. His hair was a mess. She was certain that he'd been with somebody else. And other than his smell, he didn't smell of anything. And he said, I have been at my desk all night. I promise, honey. I've been drinking this bottle of vodka, and that's why I look like this and why I'm standing like this. And she said, there's no way I don't smell anything on your breath. Vodka leaves you Smirnoff leaves you breathless. That was his slogan. Businessmen started to be able to drink it at lunchtime. They started to be able to drink it at different times when they wouldn't get caught, and sales went over the roof, and everybody knows what Smirnoff vodka is. So that's why I say, think about your slogan, what you're going to say, what you're going to be saying to people, what you want them to remember. In my case, it was the taste of good health. My product is a product all about good health. There are so many benefits to it that I won't go into right now. Come into the shop and we'll tell you all about it. It's one of the things that we like to do is educate anybody who comes in, because otherwise they're coming into something they have no clue what it's all about. So that's what I came up with. Then when it came to be Christmas time, I opened August 2nd. The next slogan I needed to come up with had to be something to do with Christmas. So of course the gift of good health. That meant now that not only was it the taste of good health, but when you give it to somebody, it's a really good gift of good health as well. I hear oftentimes people will say, I get a call from my friend, I gave you your stuff for Christmas, and they call and they say, I made the best stuff with your stuff last night. And they tell you all about it. And then a week later, call again. I made the best stuff with your stuff. You know that they're thinking of you every time they use that bottle of your stuff, which is my stuff. So those are all really good things that go along in line with marketing, sales, thinking about what your slogans are going to be and what they're going to remind the customer of, just like my Dove and the olive branch is more of a subliminal message for being at peace and having good health. So packaging, that was the next thing I started to work on. Bag tags, I had this little tag. I'd been given a pair of pajamas for Christmas. I think it was from Walmart or somewhere, but it had a tag on it, to and from. And I kept it because I thought, that would be really neat if I could just tag my bags. It was a discussion as we were thinking about the pricing of what my packaging was going to be. This was my first bag. Most people will get bags and get something printed right on it. It's a little bit cheaper way to go. This cost me a little bit more money. But for me, the bag tag also is a to and from. That reminds people it's a good gift. I want you to think, oh, not just for me, this is gonna be something good for my other people. At the bottom side, there's a 10% off coupon. That's so people would come back and remember and keep that. Stick it on their, either in their purse or on their refrigerator. Again, it was just something of mine that was gonna be before their eyes on a pretty regular basis, so they would remember to bring it in. Unfortunately, in the first, 2-3 months, people were forgetting those all the time, and I'd only been open 2 or 3 months, so I knew they'd been there, so I said, that's okay, you're in my database, I'll give you the 10% off. And I've just kept doing that. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad idea on down the road, but it is something that we say to everybody. It's part of my closing spiel, always come back for 10% off. I have customers from Knoxville, Nashville, Charlottesville, out west, where there's stores everywhere, Texas, wherever they come from, they always come back to me or they buy from me because they get that 10% off. It might even be a little bit more than where they're getting it from, but they remember they're getting 10% off, and that's a good thing. And so they like that, and they like the bottles as well. So let's see, what else can I tell you about the bag? In the beginning, some of the issues were, well, it's gonna take time to tag that and all of that. But I have staff that have to be there anyway to greet people, and there aren't always people coming in. So this gives them something to do while I'm paying them, so they're not just sitting around looking at their text and, oh boy, somebody's in here. They have something to do, so when somebody comes in, they're happy to get up and go help those people. So in the long run, it really paid for itself, and I'm not just wasting people's time sitting around my shop in their chairs talking about the soaps they saw last night. Then we started to figure out what's our gift wrap going to be. I went with a tool. You can see through it. You can read what's inside. And it, again, was just a really nice, sophisticated, elegant packaging for us. That's the other one. Comes black and white. That's our tuxedo wrap. At Christmas, I went to the sparkling tool. Jury's still out on that because you get sparkles everywhere.
I love that though.
Do you? See? The jury's still out. When I opened a new store in Bristol, we decided not to go with the sparkly tool there, and they were really happy about it until they came to my shop at Christmas, and then they said it looks so Christmassy in here. So it is a nice bright, we have options if they don't want to go with the sparkly tool, but it does seem to make people happy when you see that sparkle stuff. That's my display at Christmas to let people know the minute they walked in the shop, they started to see, yay, it's Christmas time. It looks like I'm getting doubles of things that I thought I removed, so I'm sorry about that. That's my Mother's Day colors, because you can get sparkly tulle in all kinds of colors. So that's a Fusti, that's what the product comes in. And when people first walk in there, I have 53 different Fustis around the place. So a lot of times when the men come in with the women, they're like this, I'm with her, and they're just pacifying her over there. We start to educate them on what the shop is all about. Our supplier is the 4th generation of the Delizia Olive Oil Company. They started in 1924 in this country. Came from generations of olive oil producers prior to that. Over all those generations, they've established a large network of small batch artist estates all around the world. Our oils come to us from Chile, Tunisia, Portugal, Italy, Australia, Argentina, California, France. It's a script, it's a spiel that my staff all learn so that they can educate the person when they come in. Otherwise, it's just like going into a dress shop or anywhere where they say, can I help you with anything? No, I'm just looking. I don't want that I'm just looking answer. In the beginning, we would say, have you ever been to a store like this before? If they said yes, well, that cut us off. Had nothing else to say. We stopped saying that. Have you ever been here before? If you haven't been here before, we like to give you a little tour, kind of tell you what it's all about. And then we set you free. And that way, we capture the men and the women and their intellect. We're in a very intellectual town. Most of my customers, the demographics, are retired, semi-retired, very educated people. And they listen to NPR a lot. And so we want to just educate them. We also want to distract them from all of those Fustis that they see, oh God, she's going to make me want to try all this stuff. So we're just going to distract you from that, tell you how great the product is. It's grown in the northern and the southern hemisphere. So when it's growing in the northern hemisphere, it's ripe and ready to crush in the southern. We get it every 2 to 4 months as opposed to 2 to 4 years in a grocery store oil. When the olives are ripe, they send a family member to the estate. They make sure there aren't any olives on the ground, no bugs flying around, just like you wouldn't want your apples off the ground. Then they make sure they're cold pressed in the first 2 to 5 hours. That maintains a real high level of freshness. It's noted by the polyphenol count found on something, and that polyphenol count's listed on our cards. And that's where we begin with them. And now, about that point, they're intrigued and they start to ask questions. And we don't start them tasting in that front room. We just want them to be really relaxed. We move them in the middle room. And we start telling them about our middle room. Now, I don't know what picture's coming up next. Yeah, that one should have been removed. Oh, that one doesn't belong there. Okay, that's my furniture. I don't know which way this is going, so I apologize for that. I don't know how those things again didn't get deleted. What I don't know is the computer end of it or the social media part. I'm really not good at that, and I keep trying to get better. But like I said, people keep coming in and bugging me to buy stuff, so I can't figure out how to make that happen. We're getting to the next part of this presentation. That was my next thing to do. Once I had figured out my logo, my packaging, then how am I going to set up my shop so that it fits into the town and works with what I was trying to market, which was Abingdon history. People come for the barter, they come for the art museums, they come for the creeper trail and the health part of it. I didn't have a lot of money. I started with $15,000 that I borrowed from a friend. So I went back to Florida. They have great auctions in Florida every Friday night. Everything must go. And in Florida, they don't have, the people that are passing, their heirs don't really want their stuff because it's antiques and it's grandma and grandpa's stuff. They don't want it. So I went to one of the auction houses that I loved on a Thursday night. Friday night was the auction. And this beautiful piece was there. And I thought, wow, if I could get that, that would really start my shop looking good. Otherwise, I just had those IKEA shelves and stuff. If I could get that for around $1,500, it's probably worth $3,000, maybe a little bit more, then that would be great. That would really get me off to a good start. So there were some other furniture there, a dresser. That was a little end table that went with the dresser. Maybe a fusti could stand on there and be a display. Those were antique things. Clearly, when you see them in real life, they're antique and handmade because no bar is alike. That was the headboard and the footboard. Anyway, I see all this beautiful furniture, and I thought, I got my mom and I said, I might be spending some money tonight, don't freak out, but I'm hoping to get this stuff for next to nothing. So if you've ever been to an auction, usually the auctioneer starts with where they want to end up. So he said $1,500, he'll give me $1,500, nobody bid. $1,400, he'll give me $14, nobody bid. $13, he'll give me, nobody bid. Eventually he got to $100 and the bidding started. 100, 125, 150, going once, going twice. I raised my card, 175. Somebody bid 200. I got that beautiful piece for $225. Isn't that cool? And then, oh, and there it is, set up and became a display. Can I arrow? Oh, good, I can arrow. I had that part built when I got here. And then this dresser, that was the last thing to bid because you can see there's no marble top on it. All the other parts that came with this bedroom set, and I don't know if you can see, it has that beautiful inlaid wood right in through there. That didn't have the marble top. By the time they got to that, the guy goes, Jimmy broke the marble top when this came in. Who wants it for $35? So I ended up getting the rest of the furniture for $885. And so right around $2,500, I was good to go and putting it in a U-Haul and heading on up to start my shop. So these are the different various pieces. There they all are lined up that go with that bedroom set, footboard, headboard, and that became a display case. That's the back of that piece on the right on top of the piece in the middle. Isn't that pretty? And we're in an antique town, so it all worked together. That headboard I put up, raised up, and had the display below made. Found a local carpenter to do it. Happened to be my ex-husband, but oh well, who's counting? There's the closer display stuff there. And then Penny is my culinary artist. I had been in town about 3 weeks, and I asked my landlord, Jennifer Ferraro, who happens to run the cooking school over at Virginia Highlands. You know anybody that might be good for a good shop manager, and she maybe knew just the right person. I don't know if you guys know Penny, but she has great big eyes. And the next day, peering through my window were these great big eyes, and hi, I'm Pen. And we got to be good friends very quickly. And she had gone to Italy and done some artwork and things like that, and she brought that beautiful linen back from Italy. So she said, I think this will look really pretty, and it did look really pretty. So there's that mahogany hutch, looking at it from another angle, and you can just kind of see how I put all that furniture in there. That's looking into the front room. One of the things I wanted to point out, when you start out, you don't have a lot of money. I didn't. So I took my bags and stuck the tool in it and lined them up. Where's my arrow? All along there. So it just gave a presence of, wow, there's stuff in here, even though there really wasn't any stuff in there yet. And that's the dresser, and that's what that turned out to be. And this was the wardrobe that came with it, a right and a left side, and that became that display piece. And then I took that mirror and turned it sideways and put it over the mahogany hutch, and that became my shop. That mahogany hutch, once we had it in the U-Haul and all the other furniture, I'm about halfway up and decided, you know, I never really measured that hutch. I wonder if it'll fit through the door. But anyway, it all worked out just fine. And then I put curtains up to give it a feeling of home. Again, when you come in, my product is a food product. So I want people to feel like they're at home when they come in. I don't want them to be afraid to walk around. I want them to feel like they're a guest in our home. That's why we greet people. Where did you come from? What are you doing in town? Get to know them. People like to talk about themselves. If you can get people comfortable in your shop or in your office place, your whatever your business might be, and they talk about themselves a little bit, then they're going to be comfortable with you. And they're going to start to listen and pay attention to what you say and also believe you. So that's my suggestion there. This is entering the front room. Again, always try to think about things as if it's going to be an ad in a magazine or a reporter's going to come in and take pictures, because you want them to come in. That's free advertising. And that's all I did in the beginning, other than the barter, was just hoped that people would come in. I got lucky. The tourist department brought people from the welcome centers all along 81 and the different welcome centers in the state. They all were totally intrigued with the product and the shop and liked it, so they told any of the guests that came into the welcome center, when if you're going through Abingdon, make sure you check this place out. So I hear that a lot too. My friend told me, or we stayed at the bed and breakfast and they said, you gotta come into this place. My other free advertising I did was the sheets you have in front of you that have the map on them. Those were cheaply done. I went to AAA Printing. Penny took them around to all the hotels and just introduced herself and told the people at the front desk, the bread and breakfasts, what we were about. And it had a little map, and we just left it there, and they left it in the rooms. And for me, I was paying Penny anyway, so that was free advertising for me.
And the other thing, I interject just one second, that KC did was, she knew when all the other shops were closed, she made sure she was open at that time. And so she got off tourism, purely because she was there and other places were closed.
Yeah, on Sundays, nobody's open in Abingdon, and they would say that's because they're a one-owner shop. We'll hire somebody for $10 so you can get the day off. But, I mean, I'm there all the time, and I live upstairs. And I love my work. I really, really love my work. On Sundays, I'm only open from 2 to 6, so it's just 4 hours. But I advertise in the barter program. And so that play is over about 4:30, and people will come in on their way out of town. So that's been very beneficial to me. I noticed that some are joining the club now. William King is open on Sundays. Oh, some of the restaurants are starting to open now that weren't open in the beginning. We don't live in ancient times anymore. I come from Florida. Everything was open 24/7. So it wasn't a stretch for me like it is for people around here that are used to be closed on Wednesday afternoons and Sundays. Try to figure out how to have somebody else there if you need to take that time off, just so you are open and doing business. display, gift ideas. This is right when you come in the shop. It's just a little gift wrap thing that's sitting up there. We don't ever talk about it, but again, it's a subliminal way of letting people know, just like that arrow in the FedEx. It's just there. You might not see it, but you might. It's just a thought that goes in the back of your head, and they're all kind of there. This is my back balsamic room. Again, apologize, it's not in the right order. This was when it was first set up. One of the things I can tell you about that, I hope to open June 30th. Originally it was June 15th, that didn't happen, okay, that was a stretch. June 30th, I still didn't have that front room display in. I have a good friend, Steve Javy, who's an NBA referee. He and his wife came to town, and we thought it would be cool for Steve to be here. That was gonna be our big press release, NBA referee in town for grand opening of the olive oil company. Steve and my husband took the radiator covers off and were cleaning underneath them. That's how far behind we were at getting, needless to say, well, I didn't open July 4th either. I really didn't open till August 2nd. But about the best news that came out of that was Steve, while he was in town, one of the things that has happened with us, because we've known him for the Javies both for 25 years, we'd go to really nice restaurants whenever we would see them. And over the years, his eyes were getting older. I wore glasses, my husband wore contacts, but he didn't, and so he'd ask for glasses. In a really nice restaurant, beautiful menu, little tiny print. And so think about the size of print that you're doing too. They'd have this little tiny print, and he'd say, do you have any glasses or anything? Because I can't read this menu. And somebody, the waitress, would say, let me see if somebody's left them. He never understood that. It was a pet peeve. So he gave me my good luck charm, the first present I got for the shop. He went to the dollar store, got the most expensive thing they offered, little magnifying glasses. I have them all over my shop, and my customers just love it. They get such a kick out of the fact that I have these glasses everywhere. Wow, she thought of everything. So listen to what people say and tell you to do, because sometimes that gives you little pointers that you wouldn't otherwise have considered. So this is the back blue room. I have magnifiers sitting there. That's what made me think about that. No paintings on the wall yet. Penny came to me. She said, you know, I went all over Europe. I'm an artist too. She was a little reluctant because she knew my mother was a portrait painter and had done over 3,500. She brought me the most beautiful paintings that she had done when she traveled all over Europe, the Tuscany region and Italy, and they fit in perfectly. And as you can see, it made a big difference to just warm up those walls and kind of add more atmosphere to the shop that I was creating. There it is without, there it is with. This table right here, Penny felt like every square foot in a shop needs to be utilized for product. For me, the table meant dinner, sitting around the table, and again, feeling it like you're in a home, somebody's home. It's a food product, and I wanted to create that. Oftentimes we'll have customers that sit down right there and we talk with them because they can't stay on their feet. Like I said, they're older, semi-retired, some walk with canes, some aren't used to being on their feet. They're able to sit down while we can talk and just ramble on with them, and they feel like they're at our dining room table. That's the balsamic room from another view. There's little Emmy over there on the side about to peek her head in. And that's what it turned out to be. All those cruets on the top came from the same lady that owned all that furniture in the auction. She must have been a cruet collector, vinegar collector. When I went to look at that furniture, there was a long table about this long, filled with all kinds of cruets and stuff, Waterford crystal. And it was Thursday, not Friday of the auction, and the guy said to me, you can have anything you want on that table for 20 bucks. He said, you got any boxes? And I started loading the stuff up, and those became my drip dishes and some of my interior. You see all the little dishes that are sitting around are drip dishes. One of the next ideas I had, when I first got this product, like I said, I started with 6, pretty soon had a collection of 24. And my friends would say, Case, come to the party, bring all your stuff. So I was bringing a plate for the oil, plate for the vinegar, and a plate for the combination. The lime oil is really good by itself. The coconut balsamic really good by itself. The combination lime and coconut is great. So I would bring about 6 different combinations, 18 plates. It occurred to me one day, wow, maybe we can make a plate, and hopefully the next picture is it. There we go. Shaped like a heart because it's a heart-healthy product. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I can't find, it'll come up here pretty soon. That's just filling in the spaces. Remember I told you I started with bags on those shelves? A basket maker came to me, said, I think you need texture in here. I said, okay. And she brought her stuff in on consignment and added to that. And there's that display case now. Not now. I don't have the baskets anymore. Started to add aprons. Anytime you can logo yourself up for when customers come in, it's not a bad idea. People ask, where'd you get the aprons? I started to sell the aprons. They're great aprons. They have 2 pockets in it. So my massage therapist friend loves them. Even she gives her massages in it because she can keep her oils in it. I have a lot of customers that say they wear it all day long. They forget they have it on because they'll go from one room to another and they can keep their pen, their notepad, pick up something from this room that goes upstairs. And so those are the things that just kind of added a little extra I didn't realize. And then that's the flip book. So the flip book was the next thing to come, and it just kind of made a perfect package for people who wanted to get a gift, something more than just the oil and the vinegar as a gift. And there's my recipes in a bottle, and how you find us, that's on the inside cover. Because we're in a artsy town, I wanted to kind of relate that you use these just like you would use paintbrushes, a dollop of this, a drizzle of that. That's there. Are you going to be painting Rembrandt or Picasso, bold strokes, or just little subtle significance? And then the next thing that we added were soaps. I had a girl come to me and she made soaps. How cool if we could use our super high polyphenol olive oil. One of the things that olive oil, the benefit of it is, it doesn't soak into your skin. It acts like peroxide and pulls the germs and the bacteria out. So in Roman times, they would take oil baths. They didn't have soap. Men on this side, women on that side. You might remember it from history where that's where ductwork came from. They had the fires down below and the ductwork to keep the oil baths warm. I never quite understood that. They're in the desert. Doesn't the sand stick to them? But when they got out, they had strigils that they would scrape all this stuff off, leaving this great moist residue. Well, what a big surprise. God created this great little oil that also has natural sun blockers in it. Some of those polyphenols, we took a class in New York, and one of the guys was a neuroscientist. And he said that he and his partner had figured out how to extract the polyphenols responsible for curing Alzheimer's and dementia. I went, wow, that's pretty cool. We didn't know that. And that's when the subject of the sunblocker came up. You don't need chemical sunblockers. You just need olive oil. And the term olive complexion came from when people would go across the desert and they would use this olive oil on their skin and get these beautiful tans. And they had that nice olive complexion. It also was kind of a sign of great health and wealth. So Holly came to me, can I make soaps? You want to sell soaps? And I said, well, if you want to use my olive oil, that works for me, because she was just using a regular oil. And so we started that separate business together. It's just a little add-on when people have come in and they've given their friends oil and vinegar as much as they can. What else do you have? Now we have soaps. There's Holly cutting up. That's my favorite cocoa butter. She uses our butter olive oil, and it's got a little, there's my arrow, a thin strip of cocoa in there. And it smells like a chocolate chip cookie, uncooked chocolate chip cookie. I love that one. And that's just a straight unscented one, and all the different beautiful, there's a peppermint, vanilla peppermint, there's, like I said, the butter, there's a blood orange that she uses our blood orange olive oil for. It's just incorporating our product and another product so people come in and buy it. And it continues to market your product. And that's how we figured out how to display it. And then had Debbie make little soap dishes for me as well. That's one of my latest inventions. Again, it's shaped like a heart because it's a heart-healthy product. There's 4 different sections because sometimes it's fun to dip your shrimp, say, in the chipotle oil and the lime oil, or sometimes the lime and the coconut, or sometimes the chipotle and coconut. And I grew up in that era where they had, what do you do when you, fondue? And you would dip in the different things. So it's very similar to a fondue dish. It's just something that we sell by 4s instead of 1. So the next thing was to figure out the signage, what we were going to put out there. These people had closed, In this town, you have to go before the bar, the Board of Appropriateness Review, and they deem your sign appropriate. And it can only be 4 square feet, 2 feet by 2 feet, or 1 by 4, not a lot to work with. But because I had this whole side I got to work with, they stretched it for us and said, okay, you can have 2 feet by 3 feet. One of the guys on the board happened to have worked in that building, and I said, I don't know if you realize it, but our building is set back, not like all the others on Main Street up front, so it's gonna be hard to find us. And he said, well, I worked there for 25 years. I didn't have any trouble finding it. He thought that was really funny, and then, but they gave me the approval, and so I moved on. There's my sign.
How many's gonna have storefronts in Abingdon? That's stuff you need to know.
Mhm. Before you can get a business license, you have to go before the Board of Appropriateness Review.
I've already done it.
Okay, good. That surprised me. Like I said, my timeline, I wanted to open May 30th. They only met the 3rd Thursday or something, and I didn't find out till Monday. I didn't even know that that's what I had to do, so
It's a long process.
it's a long process that luckily my good angels helped me in it. Went pretty quick. Say what?
I don't know, Kathy, if you've already got a sign, just.
Well, I started to say, if you are in the historic district,
Right.
you have to go before the Board of Architectural Review, but if you are not in the historic district, but you're still within the town of Abingdon, there is a sign ordinance, and you have to go before the planning commission if you want a variation. But if you start with the town planning department, and they will look at your sign, and they will look at your sign ordinance, and if it falls within those guidelines that are already in that ordinance, he has the power to approve it. You don't have to go before any other board. It's just that if you're in the historic district, or if you're in the overlay district, you have to have things approved because
They don't want big, huge signs, and they don't want them up too high, and
It's definitely worthwhile to look at the ordinances and have whoever's doing your sign, design your sign within the parameters if that's possible, because that will make it go much faster.
So what I'm saying is there's already a sign there, it's just gonna have my name on it, you know, just gonna change the name.
Sometimes still, depending on how old that
Mhm.
sign is,
yep.
because the ordinance changed over time,
if
so you
I,
still have
good
to
to
fill
look
out the
into
permit
it.
no matter what.
yeah, if I were opening a business in Abingdon, or I were expanding a business in Abingdon, I would go right downtown and I would give everybody this name. His name is Matthew Johnson, he's the director of planning, and I would call downtown, I would ask to speak to Matthew Johnson, I would make an appointment to go see him and find out if there's anything that I needed to do differently. Because anytime you change a sign, you are supposed to change it within the guidelines, and sometimes those guidelines have changed.
He's in the city.
He's with the town. Yeah, if you live in Washington County, you don't have to have a business license, and you don't have to comply with those types of ordinances. If your business is within the town, you have to have a business license, and you have to comply with the sign ordinance. And some people get really upset about this sign ordinance thing.
Glade Spring too, don't you? You have to have a business license and, probably in Damascus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Damascus.
yeah, and so the thing about the sign ordinance, it's not in place to prevent, it's not in place to prevent you from being able to do things. It's just that I can think of a business that gave us all heartburn. Every time you drove by this building, there was a new sign on it. And then, I guess their business wasn't growing the way they wanted it to, so then they started putting up flags. And it started to look like a circus. And none of it was in compliance. Well, we kind of left it alone for the longest time, hoping that they would decide on something. And we finally, the code enforcement officer finally had to go say, look, you're not in compliance here, and we want to help you. We're not here to hurt, we want to help, but we do need for you to know what our regulations are. So, anyway, it just never hurts to call downtown and ask for the planning director,
and, you know, ask him some questions, tell him where you are, ask him some questions. Sometimes he'll come to you, depends on how busy he is or what's going on, but, you know, it just never hurts to ask those questions. We had a conversation today about, there are certain businesses that, for instance, the taxi service, you know, taxi services per the Code of Virginia require a background check. And background checks take 2 to 4 weeks. And so, again, if you come to town and you just decide you're gonna open a business and you don't go to your municipality, wherever it is, and ask the right questions about businesses and business licenses, you may find that you have a planned opening date that you can't do. So it never hurts to contact your local government wherever you are. And just, they all
Try
have
to think
planning.
it through on every level.
Yeah, and they all have planning departments. So it never hurts to contact the planning department and just ask, tell them what you're doing, and then ask if there are any stipulations, guidelines, you know, if you need to meet with them or whatever. So,
In Washington County, it's the zoning for the most part. If you are zoned for the business in Washington County, because
And then you get a little bit more if you're in a historical district as well. The flip side of that was when it came time for my building to be inspected, because I didn't know if I needed a ramp or something for the handicap, I called that guy and he said, well, where are you? And I said, I'm in the Greenway Trade Building. And he said, oh, you're good. I know the building, you're good.
yeah. So, yeah, some things are grandfathered and some things are not.
Right.
And so, you know, it just doesn't hurt to find out what the rules are.
And sometimes it will lead you down a different path. In Florida, the stores like mine needed to have a 3-bay sink that was big enough to hold the foosties or anything you might be cleaning. Up here, I didn't need that. I needed 3 sinks of separate hand washing, but it could be a kitchen counter sink. Well, that would have saved me a little chunk of change if I'd looked into that sooner.
Yeah.
Is any place in Abingdon historical? I mean, is any place on
No,
Main Street?
Main Street and Valley Street.
Park, too, right?
Part of Main Street. Main Street down to Ellis's Soda Shop.
There's a map on the website.
What about this one?
What do you mean down to Ellis's Soda Shop?
That's where the historic district
Downtown
stops.
is not in the historic district. It is the historic overlay, but it is not in the historic district. So,
That's weird.
It
go in
stops
the
right
other
there between
direction,
Ellis and the other
Ellis's
buildings.
up Courthouse Hill?
from Ellis's all the way to.
Down to Orchid, isn't it?
All the way, I think, to Rain. No, yeah, all the way to Rain is in the historic district. And then the house that is across, kind of diagonally across the street from Rain, asked to be put in the historic district. So yes, that's where the historic district is. However, any road that directly feeds into the historic district is called the historic overlay. And there are a few more hoops you have to jump through when you're, you know, when you're going down that road. So again, it's not, you know, they're not in place to prevent anything. They're in place to help with the value of the town in general. And so just, you know, the staff knows that, I mean, their goal is to try to help you do the right thing so that you can save yourself time and make some money. We love people that have business license, you know.
Right.
The more successful you are,
They don't want a big bank sign that's up 20 feet, and I get that, you know, they want it to have a certain feeling about it. And in the case of this sign right here, they did end up, because there were just 2 of us in that building now in a commercial capacity. So they let us each have each side of that sign.
About that one copy.
Yeah, well, see, I got my approval. And in the meantime, unbeknownst to my neighbor, he was getting a new sign done, and he had already been talking to his guy, and he said, he was explaining to me that I would need to go before the board, and I said I'd already done that, and I had taken that care of. So My signs cost me about $900, I think, a piece. It was that material, not wood, but it looks like wood, that will last forever. It was pretty pricey because of the printing I had. You can see on there, my original slogan was bringing it all together instead of the taste of good health. And I've never been able to put the money into, or just didn't want to anymore, into putting the taste of good health on there. I might one day. Anyway, Dean already had his guy doing that one over there, so he just flipped it sideways. And when our signs went up, it was funny to watch the people outside walking down, and they'd look like that. But he refused to change it, and I kind of think it's an interesting marketing ploy, just because it makes you take a second look. For me, clearly the Dove was what I was branding, not necessarily the olive oil company, although it is something that I suggest you really think about. That part that when I'm doing any kind of advertising or anything, to build an advertisement, you can imagine on a page like this, around an up and down logo, limits you on certain things that you can do with it. So I gotta just cut that Dove off or make it really small. So that the Abingdon olive oil is what can be read in the advertisement. And we then had to add this additional sign up there because people are walking by and just thought it was a house. They just couldn't see past. We get away with that sign hanging up there because it's technically within the building structure rather than out on the grass. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be able to get away with that either.
Let me just say one more thing about the ordinances. If you go to the Abingdon, Virginia government website, all of the ordinances are on, you can click through the ordinances and find the sign ordinance on the website.
The permit applications are over there too.
Yeah, and it's making me think about when I set up as an LLC, and I went around to different accountants in town and got an amazing array of, I can do that for you for $250, $450, I think the highest was $600. My daughter and I did it online for $75. So don't always feel like you have to, because somebody has said you gotta go to this guy or have it done by a professional. And sometimes you don't have to. The sign didn't have to be done professionally. If I would have done it myself because I love to do stuff like that. But I didn't have the time to do it. But, shake your brain, figure it out. So the business card. Business cards are important. I guess most of you guys have yours done already. The kind of material that you use, for me, I wanted it to match my bag tag and all of that to go together. It also is the same material that I used on even though this is laminated in my books and stuff. Every once in a while people will pick it up and go, wow, this has a neat feel. Sometimes people will get a thicker card because that has a neat feel. I've known some people that laminate their cards so it's a little bit bigger. I don't like that. It's bigger in the wallet than anything else, and so some people like that idea, others don't. I started with raised ink. I thought it was more sophisticated. Yeah, I know. No, don't go there. And then the backside, again, just gave them the directions. It costs more to double side, but at the same time, people were struggling to find us, so that was really helpful to just put how you found us on the back.
And that's a QR code, right?
That's a QR code. I don't know if that helps or not. People who know how to use those also know how to use their little phone, which also gets you there, so.
Sandy Ratliff does a class on that.
Does she? Well, I saw it in your PowerPoint that you sent. I don't know if it helps or doesn't help, honestly, because like I said, if you know how to do that, then you know how to.
Well, now also you can set up where you can track it, how many times they've been scanned. It gives you an idea. It's great if you're going to a show and you're trying to get an idea of what's the impact. And, maybe the Thistle soap lady used to do that all the time, where that would help her if she's doing a special flyer or something, a special price for a Post-it note. They could scan a special code and that would direct them to a place where she could count to see how many people
Right.
have hit on it.
Yeah, so it's good for different things. I told you in the beginning, I'm not a social media expert. My general manager at the new store is, and that's great because she's going to be great with it. I just haven't learned enough about it, and when Sandy sent me the email a couple weeks ago, okay, you're on for this night, and I emailed back, okay, how much time is allotted for me? And she said the whole time. I went, okay? Because I don't know anything about that media marketing. I'm not that good at it. I'm really good at the point of sale marketing, as you can see. My business, it's been very effective word of mouth. We're getting ready to come up with the other advertising I've done. It'll be interesting to see what happens when my social media expert really gets going, because I'll see how many people come in.
We're doing a class on social media here, March, it's one of the new knowledge, I can't remember the date. But it's coming up next month on social media, and it's a social media consultant out of, Shelton City that's coming to do that.
Yeah, and she had said, just talk about what you've used and what kind of a percentage have you gotten back, feedback. I've never looked at that. Again, I go back to, okay, Gabriella, I need somebody to come in tomorrow. I talk to my angels and God a lot. So that's a different facet that will be interesting for me as well. Okay, so we talked about the flyers, and those we also take sometimes, I don't even know if I'm allowed, but over at the Creeper Trail, put them on the windshields at the Creeper Trail. When I opened the Bristol store during Rhythm and Roots, we had high school kids walking down the street handing those out. Pretty cheap way of getting the job done, just to get people, they might not come in, but they're gonna take it home and put it on their counter or whatever, and maybe look at it again. Oh yeah, I wanna go there.
Have you ever had anybody complain that you put something on their card?
No, but I always had the same person do it, so they didn't do it on the same car over and over again. They recognized the cars, and then when a new girl came on and that first girl left, then we just did only the out-of-state cars. And now we only do it on Sundays when it's 2 to 4, and just to be bringing people in and they're over there. No, I haven't. I don't even know if I should have brought the whole thing up, because I have a government official here.
I'm not asking as a town council member, I just wonder, sometimes, like when we were running for office.
I can't get out of here.
Okay, see you tomorrow. No, I was just asking because, like when we're running for office, we have those cards that we hand out everywhere, and we're knocking on doors. We got 2 or 3 negative responses. If you called somebody on Sunday,
Oh, yeah.
you had to wait till after 2 o'clock, and you could go knock on their door from 2 to about 5. But otherwise, we had people when we were doing the phone thing say, I wouldn't vote for you now, you can hold on Sunday. And so, there are some things that have a negative effect that
Right.
you don't think about. Like, you put something on somebody's card and they go,
Yeah.
throw it down. So
Yeah.
I just, you can kind of tell if you go back, you can see if they're laying in the parking lot or on
Right.
the ground.
And then I would have her
Sometimes
pick
people
those up.
call you to tell you how mad they are.
Yeah. Well, and I never send anybody to to Kroger's parking lot or anything like that. But the Creeper Trail, I figured people who are walking the Creeper Trail are into good health. And more often than not, they came in and said, that was a really good idea, because that's how I knew you were here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known what a neat store. So it worked for me. The first place I put my advertising dollars was in the barter program. I don't know how many people have a business that would be helpful, but it was extremely helpful for me, because like I said, it's my demographic. And I don't know how much they advertise it. You've got to get a full page ad in order to reap the benefits of their curtain speech. But for $315 more a year, I become part of the curtain speech. That's what it cost me. They do over 325 shows, I think, on the main stage. And that's every time Rick Rose gets up on the Barter Theater and welcomes everybody who's the farthest away. Have you ever been? Most people been to the Barter, and they ask who's the farthest away. And so you have to be willing to give a gift. And she said it could be a refrigerator magnet if you wanted to be, or a mug, which of course I didn't. I give a bottle of olive oil to people. But they get up and he'll say welcome and find who's the farthest away, and then you get a gift from here, 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 and here. And so your name is being associated with the barter and being mentioned at the beginning of every play. And they've just gotten done sitting in their seat flipping through that program. So oftentimes they come in carrying their program even though they didn't go to the show that day. because they wanted to remember to come in. So for me, that's great advertising dollars, $1 a show.
You know, and I've noticed something that's great now, is these folks that are doing lawn care businesses, they put a yard sign in with the yard that they're doing after it's freshly cut. And you know they're getting phone calls from that.
Yeah, so that's good. And those
Know your
signs,
audience.
those signs, again, city official here, but for, for, what was it? ASD, yeah, Kathy, yeah, you guys get out of here. For AS Appalachian Sustainable Development, I donated to a fundraiser, and being one of the sponsors, I was the valet sponsor, which meant from the parking lot to the venue in the golf carts was where I put all my signs as they went along, just Abingdon Olive Oil, taste of good health. And so those same signs are the ones that I put out in our yard, because we have people that walk up and down the streets from going to shop, tourists. And they'll see that little sign in the street and then look up at the building and go, oh, you think that's in there? And that's how I get business that way too. Those little signs can be effective in a yard somewhere.
Those signs, just to put her mind at ease, you can put a sign out for 30 days, and then you have to take it up for a day or two. And then you put it back out. So that one's
As long
a
as
rule
it's
that
in
you
your
kind of
yard,
stirred around.
not in the right of way.
Like yard sales.
Yeah.
Like yard sale signs, because the police will bring them to you.
Oh, will they?
will
Oh,
bring
yeah.
your yard sale signs, yes,
Yeah.
they will, to your yard sale. If you're in the right of way, so you can't put them on the road.
They're in the yard, but I have a pretty big yard because it's a pretty big building. So I actually have 4 out there that sooner or later they're gonna
You would
see it.
know by now, they would have brought them to you.
And you know,
They're real good about picking up the sign.
if you have any type of business that would cater to a tourist in any way, and I'm looking around the room and I know that we actually have car repair, right? No, that's not.
That's good.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, looking at the wrong. I still say that you should always contact your local Department of Tourism, because invariably, on a Sunday afternoon, a tourist car will break down, or, you know, you really don't think about all of the people that could help you promote your business. Think of any possible thing that could help you, and contact those governmental agencies that are operating within the towns, because they need to be able to give somebody an answer.
Just a suggestion for you. I watched it, you know, if you watch our instructors, they're pretty creative. So they've obviously done a few of these things. But I watched one happen at the end of our class last week that you might try, because you appear to be a person that's very focused on your customers, and I can see you greeting them as you walk into the door. So I watched them do this with Ned last week, where before she left, they made sure they put a sign on her back. Okay, in your case, you could probably put olive oil company. They walk all over town, they're walking advertising.
I do have a closing, I'll show you in a little bit about that, yeah. Now, one of the things I have done, let me see what, okay, that's an ad. One of the things I have done, this is called our grab and go. Oh, we were gonna throw everybody's name into the hat, so somebody's gonna get one of our grab and goes when they go. They're gift wrapped when you come in the shop. They come in a bag like this or like this, ready to grab and go out the door. So if you need a quick gift, a housewarming or whatever. My 2 best-selling combinations, the Tuscan Herb Olive Oil, the 18-year age balsamic is one of them. They always come with a little bag with the pores in them. These are the tops that go on our bottles for pouring. I'll talk about that in a few minutes too, how to upsell with those. But those are all part of it. And at Christmas time, because I love the barter and I love the actors, my first Christmas, and I was still trying to make a statement in town and for people to get to know me, a lot of the business owners didn't know me. So I put together a bag like this that had an empty wrapped bottle in it. And a note I started with because I was thinking about the barter actors. For the role you play, or the part you play in my business, the success of my business, please bring this in and exchange it for a bottle